Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about turning data into decisions. Mastering the art of visual storytelling, we're going to take those endless spreadsheets and turn them into graphics that actually tell a story in a single glance. So, if you've ever found yourself just staring at a wall of numbers wondering what it all means, well, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why raw data just isn't cutting it anymore. Then, we're going to build your essential chart toolkit, the absolute must-haves. After that, we'll get into the golden rules that'll make your visuals really pop. And finally, we'll take all that theory and put it into practice.
All right, let's kick things off with the most fundamental question. You've got all this data, but what is it really telling you?
Seriously, think about the last spreadsheet you had to deal with. Was it just a sea of numbers and cells? Yeah, that's a super common problem. Rows and columns of data, they're precise for sure, but they often hide the bigger picture. They hide the actual story that's just waiting to be told.
And here's where the magic happens. Turning that data into a graphic is kind of like giving it a voice. All of a sudden, you can spot trends, you can see the relationships between different factors, and you can highlight the most important results in a way that's immediately obvious, not just to you, but to anyone you're sharing it with. It's a communication superpower.
So how do we tell these stories? Well, you need the right tools for the job. Let's build out our essential chart toolkit. We're going to cover 5 core types that, honestly, will handle almost any data situation you could possibly run into. First up, the absolute workhorse of data viz, the bar chart. Its beauty is just how simple it is. You trying to see which product sold the most last quarter? Or maybe which region has the highest sales? The bar chart gives you that clean, side-by-side comparison, instantly.
And look at this. See how fast you get the point here? There's no hunting through a table. In like a fraction of a second, you know that summer is the peak season for these business tours. That right there is the power of a good bar chart. Instant clarity.
Next up, we've got the line chart. Now this one is a storyteller. It's all about showing a journey over time. Want to track how your website traffic has grown over the past year? Or maybe see the ups and downs of stock prices? The line chart connects the dots and shows you that whole journey, every peak, every valley.
Now for the pie chart. This one has a very specific job. It's all about proportions. If you need to show how a total budget is sliced up between different departments or what percentage of the market your competitors have, the pie chart is your go-to for showing parts of a whole.
Here's a little variation, a donut chart. But don't let the hole in the middle fool you. The principle is exactly the same. We're looking at how different types of sales make up the total pie. The key thing to remember is this. You use this kind of chart to show a snapshot of proportions at one single moment in time.
Okay, what about the area chart? The easiest way to think about it is like a line chart, but with the whole space underneath it filled in. And that shaded area is the key. It represents volume or a cumulative total. It's absolutely perfect for showing how different streams, say online sales and in-store sales, add up to create your total revenue over time. And last but not least in our toolkit, the scatter plot. Now this one might look a little complicated, but it's designed to answer a really simple question. Are these two things related? For example, does spending more money on advertising actually lead to more sales? A scatter plot helps you see that connection, or lack of one, right away.
Okay, so you've got the toolkit. But, just knowing how to use a hammer doesn't make you a master carpenter. Now we're going to get into the rules, the principles that separate a clear, professional-looking visual from a confusing amateur mess.
Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. Every chart has a job it's good at and a way it can go totally wrong. For instance, a line chart is perfect for a trend, but if you cram way too many data points onto it, it just becomes a chaotic squiggle. And a pie chart? Great for showing your budget split today, but it's a terrible choice for showing how that budget changed over the last 5 years.
Let's zoom in on a specific rule for bar charts. You want to keep it clean and simple. But here's a classic mistake. Using super long, wordy labels on that horizontal axis. It just makes the chart cluttered and really hard to read. If your labels are long, here's a pro tip. Just flip the chart on its side so the bars are horizontal. Problem solved. Oh, this is a big one. This is a golden rule for pie charts for sure. If you have more than, say, 5 or 6 slices, especially if some of them are just these tiny little slivers, the chart becomes impossible to read. It ends up looking like a colorful disaster, and nobody can tell what's going on. If you're in that situation, a bar chart is almost always a better bet.
All right, it's time for a little pop quiz. Let's put this knowledge to the test. A company called Uma Wheels put this chart together. They're trying to analyze their expenses to figure out where they can cut costs.
and they want to compare their budget to their actual spending across different regions. So, take a good look. Put on your critic hat. Based on everything we've just talked about, what are the flaws here? What's jumping out at you? More importantly, how could they fix this to actually help them make a decision?
Okay, time's up. Did you spot the issues? First off, the labels East, West, North, Central, way too vague, right? Second, trying to compare the budget to the actual spending was nearly impossible at a glance. We're also totally missing key context, like what currency are we even talking about? What's the time period? And to top it all off, there's no clear title or legend. It's just a perfect storm of how a chart without clarity completely fails to tell its story. Okay, so we've covered the why, the what, and the golden rules of what not to do. Let's wrap this all up by putting it into practice with some common tools you probably already have and a super simple framework.
And the good news is you don't need any fancy, expensive software to get started. Tools you already have, like Microsoft Excel or Google Spreadsheets, are incredibly powerful. Excel is kind of the industry standard. It's got all the sophisticated features, but Google Sheets is fantastic for collaborating with a team and sharing your work online. Really, the best tool is just the one that fits what you need to do.
So, let's make this super practical. Think about a big decision, like buying a new computer. This simple 4-step process works every time. Step 1. List your criteria. What matters to you? Price, battery life, storage. Step 2. Assign weights. How important is each one? Maybe battery life is everything. Step 3. Gather your info on different models. And finally, Step 4. Pop it all into a chart to compare your options. This turns a really complex choice into a clear, data-driven decision.
So, I'll leave you with this one thought. Whether it's a big life decision like the one we just walked through, a business report for your boss, or even just a personal project, you have data. And hidden inside that data, there's a story that's just waiting to be told. Now you have the tools and you have the rules to tell it clearly and powerfully. So what story are you going to uncover?